I love that. So for me, if I think about it, we try to do date night.
Mhm.
Um, it does become very challenging with two kids.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And we try to remind each other once a month that we're having an anniversary. So we keep that once a month spark.
Nice.
We do tend to forget and remember afterwards. But I think the fact that we always find each other, when my husband said to me, sure, we've been together for 10 years, I was shocked. It
Mm.
didn't feel like 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of things, obviously, that I absolutely love about him. There's a lot of things I absolutely. But what I do know is we put in the extra effort for each other.
Mm.
So he'll always go out of his way for me. And that's why I feel like, you know, not only will I go out of my way for him, but I will do more than I possibly could, to make sure that he feels loved, he feels cherished, he feels
Mm.
supported.
Mm.
I will say I lack listening from time to time, which does create an issue. So for me, also keeping that spark is putting on that listening
Mm.
ears,
Mm.
so that if he feels like I'm attending to him,
Yeah.
so that he feels heard, um, and also like paying attention to what your person loves, man. As you said, what he loved a few years ago, he might not love now. What I loved a few years ago, I might not love now.
Mm.
And it's only because we change, we evolve, we age,
Yes.
we grow. And I think for me personally, just keeping the spark alive is being intentional about everything that you want to do,
100%.
making that extra effort for your person.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you make that extra effort, a lot comes out of it. So yeah, that's, I think from my side, that's pretty much what I
Yeah.
would say.
And I think the word intentional really stands out. I can remember we attended a marriage conference, and the theme was actually being intentional about, you know, being there, loving your partner. And that was an amazing conference we attended. It was a marriage conference, but I think intention, if you have intention to do something and to make it work, to put in the effort,
Yeah.
even though in your busy schedule, it's the dynamics is different for
Yes.
family. So I like quite that you mentioned you have two kids, so it's a lot different for you compared to what it would be for myself
Yes.
and other families as well. If you're an extrovert and an introvert couple, or if you're both extroverts, it's you need to find that way or that spark that you can generate in your marriage,
Yes.
to create that spark, that vibrance, but really being intentional. So I quite like that you bounced off on that. So looking at the intentionality about doing things and really being present in marriage as well, how would you navigate through conversations with your husband? And navigating through conversations, sometimes us as females, I think we listen to act and not listen to understand.
Mhm. Mhm.
So sometimes I think conversations then go south, and not the direction they intended it to go. But how would you like navigate through,
But
you
is
know
this for in terms of conflict, or is it just
I
in
think what
terms
I
of?
would, just in terms of advice, both conflict and from what you've learned, especially being in marriage, if there is a moment where there is conflict, how would you navigate through that conversation? If there's a moment where there is emotions involved, you had a bad day, you just need someone to speak to, and now you're speaking to your partner, but because let me make an example. Let's say you had a bad day, something happened, and
Yeah.
because you're such an emotional person, or females in general, right? You had this expectation that he would answer it in a different way because he's a logical thinker. And now you're not happy with the answer you received, and it makes you more sad, and it turns into an argument rather than
Okay.
that kind of a thing. How do you navigate through that? And how would you advise, if you had handled it differently, how would you have handled it? You know,
Okay, that's an interesting question. And again, I'm not a master at it
yes.
because whew, I have a lot to work on myself for. Um, I would say I've adopted, or I've started approaching things differently,
Mm-hmm.
where I would rather think about everything first,
Mm.
okay, and think proper. So I would go quiet, but I would think about it, and I wouldn't be quiet for long. I just need to process what is happening, and then I would approach. Because if I approach immediately, like you said, the emotions, I would shout, I would
Likewise.
scream, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't say it right. So I have this thing when it comes to conflict. When I see there's a lot of conflict, or when I don't feel heard, I take a step back and I'm like, okay, what does he see? Maybe he's
Mm.
not looking at it from my point of view. However, this is my point of view. This is hurting my feelings. This feels like it's being done to me in an inconsiderate way.
Mm.
So I would go back and think about it, and instead of throwing a tantrum,
Mm-hmm.
I would the next day come back
Yeah.
and then turn that into words. Now, if I'm super angry, I would write a WhatsApp message because I would rather say something in the text to get a response back than me saying something that could cost us
Mm.
a day, a week, you know. And
Mm.
as you said, already know your husband is a logical thinker. That's great. I feel like my husband is very tricky because it's never black and white with him. I is a jokester. So very difficult to make it out. And also,
Mm.
he because he wants to make light of a lot of things, it does get very blurred for me because when I'm speaking to him about something, it's as though it's a joke, you know.
Because he's
So
a jokester.
he's
That's
a
his. Yes.
jokester. So because of that, I've learned I can't scream and yell and shout because he's not going to hear me.
Mm.
I go and I take some thinking time, and then I'll come back the next day and I'll raise my point. That's how I go about it. But if we were just communicating, because my husband and I we love communicating,
Mm.
um, our communication will probably be in our little office, which is not probably an office, but it's where he works, and that's where we would just talk everything, like best friends,
Yes.
where you just either exchanging the dreams that you have,
Mm. Mm. Oh, I love
because yes,
that.
we have dreams, but they change, they evolve,
Yes.
or like what you've done towards your dream, you
Mm.
know. Um, my husband is a big believer in investing in people. So he literally, I don't want to lie, he really does a good job at investing in me, I guess. And I'm hoping that I'm investing in him by adding the value or being available so that
Mm.
he could do things that could benefit us, but mostly him because
Mm.
he's the one benefiting from it. And I think because we are big dreamers, we have a lot of deep conversations.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, man, I think
Jeez.
that's it on that.
No.
I hope I answered the
No.
question.
You've said a mouthful, and I think it's good to especially for our viewers, because sometimes you might be sitting there wondering, about to get married. What's it like for newlyweds? What's it like for, people that are on the 7 year mark, on the 8 year mark of
Mhm.
marriage? What's it been like to you? And so I think for me, navigating through conversation with my husband in a case where there is conflict involved in terms of a disagreement, or if there's a misunderstanding, again, I too kind of go quiet to kind of process
Yes.
process so instead of sometimes I do go on a tangent, but sometimes instead of going on I like kind of get myself together and be like, okay, wait, just gather your thoughts and
Yes.
take it from there. And once I am calm, or then I don't know, but it's like my husband would always be the one that would, approach me. Like, he just can't get his hands off me. So it's very difficult for him not to. Like, I maybe so be quiet. And it's also not for months and weeks, it will be
Yeah.
for a few hours in that moment or that day. And then that's when I open up, because then he kind of melts me again. And then I'd really say, okay, now, or he would actually say, why did you feel that way? I don't know.
Yeah.
He he has a very it's almost like psychology.
There's a
uh,
different way of thinking.
yes, he does, and he knows how to handle all situations in the house. I am more of the emotional one, and he knows exactly how to handle every situation. So I'm quite fortunate to have that. And so I think again it boils down to communication. So we navigate through that conversation, and I raise the way I feel. I make him understand this is what I felt during that
Yeah.
miscommunication. When it's something that involves us having a general conversation or having dreams, we also love to sit. Some days we would just literally just sit in the car in a garage and we would talk for hours on ends. Maybe we come from somewhere, Ryan, as he's
Fallen
asleep or
asleep.
he's not with us. We would sit and we would talk and really share like their conversation. Very, very, very demure, very romantic. But also we would sit lay in bed and speak about dreams and goals, and he loves that. Sometimes he would actually even say, we haven't had a conversation in a while. Because it's so nice to dream with your partner, it's so nice to speak about it. And I think that's really so important during conversations, and just navigating your way through that, understanding where you come from, understanding your partner, getting to know them in their different journey now, because
Yeah.
that change and evolve. As you evolve, it does play a role.